So Uranus, very briefly, as we're concentrating on Pluto, Uranus is traveling around the Sun 84 years. So from where it is at a given moment, like somebody that's born and they have, say, Uranus in Sagittarius, for example. Then it takes 84 years for Uranus to go back to Sagittarius, to go round one whole circle to the zodiac, which means basically one whole circle around the Sun, if that makes sense. And that's its period. Nowadays, human life is based more on Uranus than on Saturn. Only about 100 years ago, normal life expectancy, somebody was considered old at 60. 60 is 2 times 30, which is the period of Saturn. But nowadays it's very, very common for us to live up to 84 years. That's a very general lifespan, which now splits life into 2 halves. Up to mid-age, 42, and when you're around 42, you can say you're kind of starting your second life, your second round. It is perfectly possible to restart your life, to begin a new career, to begin a new education, to start a family, to do many, many sorts of things, which culturally only 150 years ago, maybe less, weren't the norm, weren't the standard. And this is a shift, and this shift is now related a lot to Uranus, the Uranus cycle. But there is so much more. Uranus is the shocker kind of force. That thing that brings innovations, new ideas, something that wasn't thought of before, the daring to look in another direction, which usually involves rebellion in one way or another, because you have to be willing to not comply with the norm in order to be Uranian. And it's the future-oriented planet. So 84 years means that there are Uranus generations as well, because it's a pretty long period of time, and we can split, if we split it into the 12 signs, we get 7 years. That 7-year period is so crucial in astrology. Almost everything revolves around 7-year periods. Of even Saturn cycle, if we divide it into, we all have our Saturn returns around 30, which means Saturn returns back to its place where it was when you were born. And every 7 years is a crucial point in the development of every person. This is age-wise, same for everyone, doesn't matter what your birth chart is. It's called the generic cycle of the planet. So the generic cycle of Saturn is 30 years, of Uranus 84. So 12 times 7 is 84. So we have generations of Uranus every 7 years. So I was born with Uranus in Sagittarius. You were also, because the same year. But during a period of 7 years, people were born with the same Uranus, if we can say it this way. So we have something in common. But then it's not really a generation yet, because it's quite short. Yeah, it's many years, but we can't think of a whole generation, only 7 years. What happens every 7 years is when it switches signs, Uranus, and it just switched signs last year in May, which is like a big event astrologically, because it happens once every 7 years. So last May it went from Aries to Taurus, and now we're going to have another 6 years from now of Uranus traveling to Taurus, which is going to bring certain revolutionary changes, but only like, I was like, a bell is ringing. Maybe nothing will happen really, but there will be instances here and there of things related to Taurus that will change in society, or somebody will bring this about as a topic. Neptune is twice Uranus. So that's unexplainable to me. Uranus was discovered first in 18th century. Industrial revolution, technology, boom starting from there, and a lot of innovations related to Uranus. I won't go into detail about this because it's not the topic today. But then, next century, in the 19th, they discovered Neptune. And Neptune's period of rotation around the Sun is almost twice Uranus. 165 years, more or less. Not exactly, but almost. And then, 1930, the 18th of February, yes, that's correct, 18th of February, 1930, was when Pluto got discovered. And that's very close to the world wars, especially the Second World War. A lot to do with Pluto is about the changes there, and it was in Cancer when it was discovered. So it was in the sign Cancer, and we're starting from there today, from that generation. So what is Pluto? I don't know. I really don't know, even though I've read so much about it. I'm meant to be Plutonian a lot, and to some extent I feel it, and I understand why, and it can be quite crazy sometimes.
When you say that, what does that mean in your chart, that you're meant to be
Sun
Plutonian?
conjunct Pluto. I think it's about 6 degrees difference. I was born with Sun in the 0 degree of Scorpio. Pluto was actually 8 degrees. So 8 degree of Scorpio was then Pluto. And it moves so slowly that's, I think. Then my Mercury is 9th degree of Scorpio, which is 1 degree difference from Pluto. So Mercury conjunct Pluto as well. And then I've got Venus conjunct Pluto as well in Scorpio. So Pluto was, when I was born in this generation, it was in its own sign, Scorpio, which means a double kind of effect of that Scorpionic Plutonian energy. And then I happen to be born with the Sun there, with Venus there, with Mercury there. These are 3 personal planets, 3 out of 5. And then my moon is also in Scorpio, but it's not conjunct Pluto, it's further into Scorpio, 25th degree, but it's still in Scorpio. So I have a stellium in Scorpio in the 6th house, most of them conjunct Pluto. So that's a big thing with Pluto. I don't think it makes any other aspects, but I've got a Taurus ascendant, which is like opposite, but it's not opposite Pluto. Yeah, it's just a lot of these, it's always an axis. When you talk about signs, it's not just that sign, but the opposite sign. They're kind of the 2 sides of the same coin. So even if I didn't have anything in Taurus, and I don't have any planet in Taurus, but then Taurus Scorpio is the axis, which is activated in the chart. If you have a lot of Aquarius, then it's Aquarius Leo axis. If you have a lot of Gemini, it's Gemini Sagittarius axis, and so on. Yeah, and so the Pluto is very strange for another reason. It's orbit. It's not like the others. Its period is now twice Neptune. So we have 1, 2, 3. I don't know. It's maybe they will discover another planet this century, and it will be not surprising if this planet has like a 500-year, orbit, yeah. Because that would make sense if it's part of this. But who knows? Maybe it will have a completely different logic of some sort. But we'll wait and see.